I talked to this guy, and I thought he was the end buyer, and actually it turns out he was another wholesaler. So this thing wound up being a microflip. We use a non-Astro wholesaler who brought the buyer in the end.
So it's like $8,500, right, that you guys get to each walk away with, which again, you know, it's not chump change, right? And there's probably somebody out there right now that's watching this thinking to themselves, gosh, I could really use $8,500 right now.
You can't replace this community. You know, the course, the mentorship, it's great. You know, going through the course materials. But that has nothing to do with the value that's in this community or the value that you bring to us every single time you got it on call with us, man. You spend so much more time than what you're contracted for. And, you know, a lot of times, especially like with your most recent surgery on your neck and stuff, a lot of us wished you to step back a little bit and took a little more time to rest, but you are, you're on it, man. You don't slow down for nothing.
And we're back with another episode of To the Moon. And I'm excited because today we have two guests on this as a 2-for-1, guys. It's like basically buy one, get one free. But these two individuals are incredibly special to me. As you guys know, you don't get onto To the Moon unless A, you've already completed some deals using the AstroFlipping methods, but B, I gotta like you. And I love these two people so much. I've had an opportunity to actually meet Tim in real life. Haven't yet met Joyce in real life, but that's going to happen very soon, I'm pretty sure, yes, because she's rich and she is going to be able to come and hang out with us somewhere. But guys, I am really excited about today because you guys actually just had a wire hit for a deal that you guys JV together as community members in Astro. And so, you know, before we get into all of that, before we get into the deal, before we get to the money, I want to find out a little bit about the two of you. So if you could tell us, we'll start with you, Tim. Tell us about, you know, how you got into real estate, how you found this crazy niche of wholesaling, and then, you know, kind of lead us into how you got here today.
Well, I've had this dream to do something in real estate since I was in my early 20s. I actually used to want to go into mobile home parks and pick up old abandoned trailers and flip them and create notes on them. I just never knew how to get that done. A couple of years ago, I was listening to Bigger Pockets, and there was this fool on there that said you could, you know, do real estate with no money, and his name was Pace Morby. And so I was listening to Pace Morby and considered getting into sub 2 first, but it wasn't very long after that I run across some of your videos, and I seen you praying before every live call that you were doing, and that hit me in the heart, and I fell in love with you, and we joined Astro instead.
Well, you know, I'm a huge fan of Pace Morby. He's a phenomenal guy, and I always do believe that when people find their way to the Astro community, it's by alignment. And so, you know, you absolutely did align, and you do align with the values and what we do in the community. And so, you know, it's always been a pleasure having you around, Tim. You are an incredible dude, and so happy to see that you've been able to fulfill your dream of being in real estate. And, you know, now you have deals under your belt to actually, you know, prove that. So that's pretty great. Joyce, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you found us.
Well, I'll give you the really short story. I give you the long story, but I have to always put this little bit of history on. My grandfather was in real estate. He was a farmer. And I remember visiting him one time when I was in my early 20s, and he took me all over Garrett County and said, I bought this and I bought that, but the taxes were too much on this and that. And he left a legacy for my family and I. A ski resort leases land from him. It's a 99-year lease. So he's deceased, and it's now in a family partnership, and we all get a disbursement each year. So
wow,
that struck my heart. Like, you know, he was actually really smart and wise to invest in real estate. He was also a product of the Great Depression, you know, so he was very leery about investments. And so real estate was his thing. That was one of my things. And then when Airbnb started popping up, I'm like, that sounds like a really cool thing. I want to do that. But I didn't know how to do it. And last year I was going to buy one and it fell through. And I found another real estate investment network that I was in for about a year. And I learned a lot, made some good connections. But they didn't give me the training that I needed, like I have had with you. And with Astro, I joined in July. And I feel like I've made more traction since July with Astro than I did in that other network. They gave me a good basis, whereas you've given me the skills and the tools. This is how we can get this done. And we got it done. And so I'm excited. And I feel like I've been in this now for a little over a year doing real estate investing. I bought my first rehab in June, and that is still in progress. It's huge. It's a 4,000 square foot house and an 1,800 square foot apartment above a garage. And the apartment's going to be long-term rental and the house is going to be a short-term rental. And so, I'm not only wholesaling, I am flipping or rehabbing, shall I say, but flipping will be the next step once we get this rehab done. So
beautiful. And I love to see that because, having and owning real estate is very, very, it's you've seen it right now with the disbursements that you're getting from what your grandfather left. But, having and owning real estate really gives you the power. It gives you the, the power to be financially free. And if you can get yourself into really high cash flowing situations, as well as get properties that can depreciate and give you some tax advantages, because as you make money in wholesale, let's be honest, right? It's really difficult to cut that check to the IRS every year, especially when they're large checks, right? Because as wholesalers, it's all earned income, and so we can be taxed pretty heavily. I've written a check as high as $900,000 to the IRS in 1 year, and it was just like one of the most difficult things that I've ever had to do. Of course, I did it, but it was very hard, right? So I love the fact that you're buying and owning real estate, and that's going to be very, very good for you in the future. But I want to kind of get into the mechanics of what this deal looked like, because, I love it when I see two people within the community join forces and collaborate. And it's always interesting to hear the story of how things kind of went, who took what role, and, how things all unfolded. So I'd love to hear the details on the deal that just closed. Let's start with you, Tim.
Well, I found the deal.
Go ahead. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, no, then we'll start with you because you found the deal. So what happened?
Yeah, so I was doing what you and the Trainer brothers had taught me, was reaching out to agents to find out if they had any listings that were stale or, having a hard time to move. And came across this one in Asheville, and it was actually a very nice, I call it a townhome. He called it a condo. To me, a townhome it's one dwelling connected to another, whereas a condo is multiple multiple floors. But anyways, townhome condo, you get the idea. Sure. It's like 2,500 square feet. An elderly lady had moved out, and the plumbing last winter burst in one of the bathrooms, and it totally messed up one of the floors.
Okay.
So, and it had not been renovated probably since the 80s. So because of all of that, they had already discounted it to $575, and I went in and gave them an offer. I think my first offer was $460 or $50, I forget. And then I had another investor interested, and he wanted it lower, so we got it down to $442.9, and that's where it stayed. And then we sold it for, what did we sell it for, Tim? $480?
$460.
Awesome. So your acquisition price was $442. So I want to kind of paint the picture for the audience right now, right? Because there's this idea out there that agents are not going to be receptive to offers that are lower than their listing price, and that it's just too difficult to find somebody that's going to see reality, especially when we're talking about a major gap between list price at $575 and $442 being the price that you're contracted at, right? This is over $130,000, right? So
Right.
walk us through that conversation. Did it require you to have multiple follow-ups? What was that like? Was there any like friction there? Were you accused of being a lowballer? How did you explain it to the agent in a way that made them understand that your offer was where the house needed to be priced at in order for it to trade?
Right. Well, there's two things that I've been doing. One is I tell them I work with multiple investors, and that because we are investors, there's money and carrying costs that it takes to renovate a place like this.
Of course.
And so we're not going to pay list price for it. The second thing is when I turn my offer in, I'll give them what I estimate the rehab, and this is where me doing a rehab is coming really handy. I can give you a ballpark because either me or my contractor both will look at the house, and I can, because I've been doing it so much now, I can go in and like kitchen will be about this, da 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 da. And there was a comp for this house for $950. Same development, just down the street, been renovated, or was it $850, Tim?
It was
I can't remember.
$850.
Okay.
The other house, $850. The other house was $950. There's another one we're dealing with, similar situation, but it's in a neighborhood. Comp for that's $950. So I'm like, get my numbers mixed up, but $825. So that was the other thing. It's got good bones and it's got a good ARV, and this is an excellent comp that just sold in August. So, and it was completely renovated, and they did it pretty upscale because it's an upscale condo development. And so I just explained to him what to do, and he's like, well, I'll go to the sellers, which is a family partnership kind of thing too, but there's one guy that makes the decisions, and just we'll see what happens. And they countered, and they wanted like more EMD. And this is the other thing I explained to agents. I said, listen, I'm giving multiple offers a week. There's no way I'm going to give you $5,000 EMD. I can't do that for everything. I said, I think I did do 2,500 because they did ask for at least that. And then I did 500 due diligence.
Understood. So let's explain that to people, because it's a little bit different in certain markets, and this was in North Carolina, I presume, correct?
Correct. In Asheville, yes.
In Asheville, North Carolina. So due diligence, guys, this is a fee. It's a non-refundable fee that you have to pay to the seller to get an inspection period so that you can go in and do the things that you need to do on a property. And so this is non-refundable, and this is what makes the stakes in North Carolina a little bit higher than in other parts of the country, because for instance, here in Arizona, right, I have an inspection period that has no due diligence fee to it. So when I put $1,000 or $2,000 down on earnest deposit, if I decide to cancel my contract within the 10-day inspection period, I actually get that money refunded to me in full. There is no fee for taking time to do my due diligence. However, in North Carolina and in markets like in Texas, they have option fees or due diligence fees. And so there was a $500 fee here, meaning that that's what you were going to lose to take the opportunity. And what that does is actually it reduces the number of people that are coming in and tying up a property and maybe not running their numbers correctly, because this is one of the challenges that people have when they first get started in wholesaling. They don't understand how to run comps. And when they don't understand how to run comparables, what ends up happening is they don't realize, or they don't know how to estimate rehab budgets. And so they're underestimating their rehab budgets. Agents are notorious for being soft on what actually things cost when you're looking at making an upscale remodel, right? And so, the days of somebody saying, oh yeah, just throw some paint and carpet in there, you get it done in $10,000, relist it on the market, and it'll sell all day. That's just not true. You can't get anything done in a house for $5,000 to $10,000. It's not a reality, right? And so, you having the experience that you had in understanding rehab budgets, I'd be interested. What did you budget that out to? Do you remember at the top of your head?
Yeah, I told him it's be 180 and 200.
And what's the size of this? What's the size of this place?
2,500 square feet. It's like 2457, something like that.
2457. Okay, so about 2,500 square feet, and you said it's about 180,000. So you estimated it to be around $72 a square foot, which I understand. It's a little bit on the high side, and from what I've done, I typically cap out at about $60 a square foot on my full gut remodels. What were some of the high ticket things there that you that specifically you knew about that were going to be costly?
The kitchen remodel that the other unit did, they had a commercial refrigerator in it. They had the big commercial stove. So those are two big ticket items. They totally redid the kitchen, obviously. Everything was upscale in the bathrooms. They added new doors. Flooring, of course, was hardwood everywhere. So, and this is an upscale condo. So I told, the people, I'm like, you might could do it for less if you can find some good sources, because that's I've been doing my rehab. I have found some really good sources for things that are way less than what I originally thought they would be, because I didn't know about these places. So there's ways you can save money, but I always prefer to budget a little over than under on a rehab, especially one like this of this scale. And I feel like to get the money out of this property, they have to go upscale or they're not going to get the money out of it. They're going to, I mean, it's not as much money, shall I say, because you could go in and do what I call a decent job and not make it as upscale and still make some money. But I feel like you're going to make more money if you go in and actually do it upscale. And just so you know, I also have a background in interior design. I was an interior designer for 9 years. So that's the other factor that I love in this, that I get to use these skills with this, because I'm like, if you move this wall and do this and do that,
that's great.
So that's where I was coming from on that one.
Wonderful. So I think, that knowledge that you brought to the table, uniquely positioned you to really create an opportunity here, not only for your guys' own profit, but for the rehabber that's going to come in and actually go vertical on this property and complete the project. So, congratulations on creating an immense amount of value for the marketplace in that deal, as well as being able to deliver back to the market, a really nice habitable housing unit, which, let's face it, inventory is tight right now. A lot of people are holding on to their homes that have really low mortgages on it. And so it's difficult for people to find really nice product out there. And you're helping solve that problem by, doing what you do and learning what you learn. Tim, I have a question for you, because I know this deal meant a lot for you. We've been, I've been watching your journey over time. You are a long haul truck driver, and you are constantly on the road. So you've been trying to, get your work done, but also you feed yourself and take care of the family and all of the things. You've also had some, pretty challenging situations happen over the year that were difficult to overcome. And, I don't expect you to get into the full details of it unless you feel comfortable doing so. But, life can sometimes serve us some, pretty hefty obstacles and challenges to deal with. Right. So how did you navigate that and keep yourself positive and keep yourself in a mindset that got you to your result here? And how has that evolved you as a person?
Well, not everybody here does know, but I started Astro with a partner. And we started building this business together, and I had a nice little buyer's list. I had reached out to almost 3,000 agents myself in that process. Well, that all abruptly came to an end at the end of the summer. Basically, when I decided to get my butt going again, I had to take a couple months and get myself right, because that took a big toll on me. But when Joyce reached out to me about it, and I was like, yeah, I know a couple buyers up in Asheville, not many. I didn't have that many up there, but I don't even have access to my buyers list that I built anymore. So basically what I did is I just tried to remember everybody that I had ever talked to in Facebook groups. I went through all my messenger messages to figure out who was buyers in the area. And in the end, it actually, I talked to this guy, and I thought he was the end buyer, and actually it turns out he was another wholesaler. So this thing wound up being a MicroFlip. We use a non-Astro wholesaler who brought the buyer in the end.
Oh, wow. Okay. It doesn't matter, right? At the end of the day, when the deal got done, the money came to the table, everybody got fed, and things are phenomenal, right? But for those of you that don't know what he means when he says a dispo wholesaler, that's somebody that's in that market right now that has established for themselves a really good buyer base. And, that's something that we at Keegley, that's the wholesale operation that I helped co-found. That is, Keegley is known across the nation for disposition services. We just don't happen to be in Asheville, North Carolina. And so there was nothing that we could do to assist Tim in getting that deal done, unfortunately, in that market. But that didn't stop Tim. No, because one of the strategies that we talk about and teach in the Astro community is to get out and network with other disposition wholesalers so that you can wedge yourself into these opportunities. You get a deal from another wholesaler, as Tim did here with Joyce. Joyce was doing her agent outreach, another method that we teach. She does agent outreach. She gets this opportunity. It's a stale listing. It's not moving. She has it listed at 575. Joyce comes in with an aggressive offer, gets this thing tied up and locked in at $442,000 with an $825,000 or $850,000 ARV. So there's a huge potential gap here, right? There's a lot of value that can be created with the right remodel. She brings this opportunity to Tim because she meets him in the community. She knows he's working in North Carolina and asks if Tim can bring an opportunity or a buyer to the table. Tim gets into his network, starts talking to people from his Facebook Messenger, reaches out to a disposition wholesaler out there, and they connect the dots. Now, what was the total amount of assignment and actual fees that were generated in this? And how much did you guys each make?
It was 17,000, right?
19,600. I thought you said
19,600.
Well, that was fees that came back to me. It was 16,600.
16,600.
Because they gave me my EMD back and my and then we took the due diligence out. But 1,700 once if you put the 500 back in that I did for due diligence. 17,000.
So it's like $8,500, right? That you guys get to each walk away with, which again, it's not chump change, right? And there's probably somebody out there right now that's watching this thinking to themselves, gosh, I could really use $8,500 right now. And this is a real thing that you guys can do in wholesaling real estate. I mean, it's one of the most incredible businesses I've ever had the opportunity to be a part of and involved in. Again, I've been doing this for over 20 years. And so I'm in love with what we can do here. But let's leave the business and the money to the side. I want to talk a little bit about the community because, I see you guys on the community calls and, I get to know you and I get to understand the unique perspectives and challenges and gifts that all of us carry in with us in this life. And, the connections that we get to make in that community they're deep, they're real, and they are lasting, right? And, especially with what, Tim with what you went through and losing a partner, and now, having a support network of people that you can rely on. Would you guys each mind speaking to the power of the community and what it's done for you in your life? We'll start with you, Tim.
Well, you can't replace this community. The course, the mentorship, it's great. Going through the course materials. But that has nothing to do with the value that's in this community or the value that you bring to us every single time you got it on a call with us, man. You spend so much more time than what you're contracted for. And, a lot of times, especially like with your most recent surgery on your neck and stuff, a lot of us wished you to step back a little bit and took a little more time to rest, but you are you're on it, man. You don't slow down for nothing. And I can reach out to anybody in this community and ask questions of them they'll get on a phone call with me or on a Zoom with me. I've done the same thing with a lot of other people here in North Carolina. We used to do a weekly Zoom call here for everybody in Astro. We kind of put that on hold over the summer because, of course, people were tied up with their families and, you know, doing stuff like that. Hopefully we'll get back on that pretty soon. But yeah, this community is worth way more than 10 grand. This community is worth $1 million or more.
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, it's priceless, right? It's not something that you look at and be like, yeah, you know, here's my dollar for dollar value proposition, right? Like, oh, I've got, you know, this is what it's worth. You know, I got this person, this is what they're worth. I had this, you know, relationship. That's what I can attribute, you know, this amount of money to. At the end of the day, right? We're people business. And there's a lot of folks out there who don't understand that about wholesaling. They think, no, I just got to get on the phone. I got to, you know, put in my numbers. I got to talk to homeowners, and I got to, the more calls I make, the more leads I buy, the more opportunities I look at, the more money I'll make. And yes, you can make money in wholesaling transactionally, but relationships are where it's at, because again, when you form a relationship with somebody and that relationship is then predicated on performance, which is what happened here, you now can go back to that well and drink again, right? And so Joyce could always call this agent back. And because this deal closed, because the performance showed up, there's a relationship established now and a history of doing deals, right? And so this part of the business is beautiful. But Joyce, what has your experience been with the community, and how has it affected the way that you operate?
Well, before I answer that, because I don't want to forget, so when we closed this deal, I sent a thank you to the agent for his help in getting it all done and wrapped up too, because he did some things to help make sure everything happened. And I said, hey, make sure if you got anything else like this, let me know. And he goes, he called me almost immediately. He said, I'm so glad you reminded me. I do have another one coming up in January, and I'll let you know. And I was like, yes. And I was like, so here it is. The beauty of what you've been teaching is happening, you know? But as far as the community, I think it's priceless too, because when I go, it gives me confidence when I go and I talk to these agents. And part of what I've been doing, I actually go and look at a lot of these houses so that I can connect with these agents face to face.
Yep.
It makes a little bit more of an impact. Most of these places aren't that far from me. I drive as far as 45 minutes to an hour away sometimes. But it's worth it to me because, like you said, we're building relationships, we're building rapport. And at this stage in the game, for me, that's really important. And so, but I can look at these people and go, hey, I'm in a network of investors that I work with, and I can assure you I'll find somebody to help you sell this house. That's part of what I do. And they don't need to know that it's AstroFlipping or anything else. They just think I know a lot of people. And it's like, I know people that know people, you know? And so that to me was huge, because it did give me that confidence to tell these people, you know, I can get this sold and I'm not out there on my own. And I tell people all the time, this is not a Lone Ranger business. You have to connect and have rapport with each other. And one of the beautiful things about Asheville, because I've been in other communities, there is a strong networking community here. We've got something called AVL Meetup, and then there's our CREA, which is the Carolina Real Estate Investors Association. Both of them are very strong. And there's we have a bigger pockets group here too. All of these groups, and some people are in all three, some people are in just one or two of them. Because I get to see these people in multiple places, because I go almost every month to all these meetings. And that is invaluable to get face to face again with people. I'd love for us to get some more Astro people over here. I don't know that we have, most of our Astro people are over towards Charlotte, aren't they? In North Carolina.
Yeah.
They're over near Charlotte and Fayetteville, that kind of thing. So we need some more Astro people in Asheville.
Well, you guys heard it
Um,
here. You know, there's a blue ocean opportunity for you guys, especially if you are in Asheville. So if you're watching this right now and you just happen to be in Asheville, North Carolina, you're definitely going to want to reach out to Joyce because she's a mover and shaker over there. But you can hear from the way that she speaks, she's well connected. She's attending these real estate networking events. She's getting out there, getting face to face, belly to belly, shaking hands, understanding the power of the relationship and really honoring that, right? And it pleases me, you know, at the highest level, both of you, that you guys have really taken that aspect to heart, and that you've made it a priority for you to connect with and to be an actual person, a human being in this, a good person in this, and that you care about solving the problem, that you did reach out to the agent after the deal closed, that you did continue to nurture that relationship, and it's going to continue to pay you dividends. So Joyce, just well done there. And Tim, well done for you too. There are people out there, I imagine right now, somebody's listening to this and they may not be in the best place, right? Somebody could be either dealing with a tough personal issue. They could be dealing with a health challenge, or they might just be on their last pennies. What do you guys individually have to say to somebody that's right now looking at this or watching this right now and they're just not where they need to be? What would you say to that person to help get them out of that space? Let's start with you, Joyce.
Well, as someone who was forced into this full time, I got laid off from my job in July, the week after I joined. And wow. I was expecting to stay a little longer. They knew I was doing this, and they had trained other people to take over my position. And they're like, we really can't afford you since we got everybody else doing this stuff. And I'm like, okay. And, you know, I had hoped I'd been further along by this point. That's why I told them when I bought the house that I was rehabbing what I was doing, so that they would have time to train people, because what I was doing is not something that you pick up in a day or two. You know, you need a little while to do it. So when I was forced into it that first month, I was scared. I had moments of, I'm not an anxious person normally, but I'm single now. I've been divorced for almost 3 years, and supporting myself. And it was by the grace of God that I've been able to support myself the past couple of months. He's worked it all out. And I finally had to come to this point of, and I'll have to tell you, John, is it Gallant? Is that how you say his last name?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, his being intentional. I went to a couple of his being intentional sessions. That was pivotal for me to help me stop. I was focusing on so much on, oh my gosh, what if this didn't happen? And I realized I was acting a lot like my ex. So he was really nervous about stuff like that. And I was like, I can't do that. And I was driving myself crazy.
Yeah.
And I finally focus on what you can do. And when I started focusing on what I can do and the process, things started falling into place more, and I became more relaxed about things. And it's still tight financially, but I'm not in that panic mode. And plus, knowing we have a second one on the way, very similar situation to this one. It's a nice house in a nice neighborhood and just needs some updating and some love. And we've got someone interested, and we're just trying to help him find some funding. And my brother's a PML broker, so he's working on that with him.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's the other part of my business. So I, I'm excited that we can help people multiple ways. And that is what I love about this. And I did have another broker friend. She brought something to me too late. A lady was going into foreclosure, and I said, and it was like a week before, and it was right around the week of Thanksgiving. And I tried to help, but it was too late. The people that could help, they weren't doing anything the week of Thanksgiving, and then she went to foreclosure the next week. And I said, and she'd had it for 4 months. And I said, if you had talked to me before, we could have stopped this. And so I said, if you ever get anything like that again, and she's a friend of mine, and she knows sort of what I do, but obviously not exactly. Excuse me. And so, those are the people I want to help too, because I know that that's a tough situation. And and so that's one thing I'm making sure that I tell these agents. And I put an offer on a house this past week, and it just went into foreclosure. It's about to. I think they're starting the process, and so I'm trying to help them before it's too late too. And so, there is a gift to this business, is helping people. I mean, not only selling their house, but also if you're helping people keep people out of foreclosure, and gets a little money back in their pocket before, it's too late. And so that's something that I have loved about this business. But back to your question of, you've got to have faith in yourself, and you've got to have faith in, whether it's God or whoever you believe in, to carry you through. And I did, that is one thing, Jamil, you surprised me. I did not even know you were a Christian until after I joined. And when I was on that first meeting, you prayed, I went, wow, cool. I didn't even know it.
That's great.
So that meant a lot to me too. But it's just, you just take it a step at a time and breathe, do what you can do. And sometimes you have to step away. And like Tim had to do for a couple months. Sometimes you got to step away and come back to it, but you got to keep going. And one thing that I've learned from you and Pace and Brent when I watch Wholesale Hotline almost every week is, if you don't give up, you won't fail.
Amen.
And that's the line that's kind of kept it. And I even wrote it down. I have it in my journal, where I think it was Brent said something similar to that one night on Wholesale Hotline.
He did.
And I was like, yeah. And I was like, yep, that's what I need. And if you don't watch Wholesale Hotline, you need to, because every week I learn something. So
Absolutely. It's a
amazing.
phenomenal podcast. And I'm honored to be with my two brothers in being able to bring that podcast to the community. And so thank you for tuning in, and thank you for shouting it out. I appreciate that. Tim, let's hear from you, because I know that there's definitely somebody out there that is that will resonate with your situation. And so what do you have to say to somebody sitting in a hard spot?
Well, I'm going to start off with saying, but God. I'm going to try to say this without getting too emotional. But thank God that who I was isn't here today. I am a totally changed person. And scripture does say that a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. I spent 51 years of my life not really understanding what that meant. Our mind has two main parts, our conscious mind and our subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind is what screws you in the end. You do things that you wouldn't do. It's not who you think your character is. But anyway, you can sit down and using sleep meditations helped me tremendously. Meditating, I don't usually get to meditate in the morning because I'm always up and running like 1 or 2 a.m. Always running behind because I get in bed late. But doing the meditations has helped me tremendously. And really just look at the future that you desire. Imagine that future that you desire, but feel it. That's the key. That's the key that most people miss, is they don't feel what they think they're going to feel when they get what it is that they're after. And I've sat down for the last few months and I've done that. And things just started falling in place. And I thank God for it. And I'm here to tell you right now, if you think you can't, well, you're right, you can't. But if you change your mind, see it and feel it, that end result, you start thinking you can, you absolutely can.
Amen, brother. I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. And You know, when you do feel the emotion of what you're trying to accomplish in life, it magnetizes you, and that magnetic charge is what brings opportunities to you. And it's, I believe, how you two resonated and met each other, and how you'll continue to do business in the future together. And so, congratulations to you both. I'm sure there's folks out there watching this right now that are saying, man, I really want to connect. I want to do deals in Asheville. I want to do deals with these two beautiful human beings. So how should people find you guys? We'll start with you, Joyce.
The best way is to find me on Facebook. You'll either find me under my name, or River Falls Home Buyers is my business page, and you can message me that way.
Beautiful. So River Falls Home Buyer or Joyce Glass on Facebook. Tim, how would you like people to reach out?
Yep. You can look me up on Facebook, Tim Turner. I do believe I have it at Tim Invested there as well, but I am on Instagram as Tim Invested.
Incredible.
And of course, anybody can call me or text me at any time. I might not answer you. I might be doing something, but my phone number.
If you give your number out.
Yeah, it is 910-699-3445.
There you have it, guys. If you haven't already liked this video, like this dang video, guys. Come on. It was great. It was great. It was 40 minutes of amazingness. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, you should absolutely do that and hit the notification bell, because the way that you're going to progress is by learning and really putting yourself in an immersive understanding of what wholesaling is, and truly keeping yourself motivated and inspired so that you can create the discipline that's required in order for you to succeed. And so for myself and my two beautiful friends here, we can't wait to see you guys on the moon. Until next time, guys, we're out.